Good morning. Craig Howard here. Well, whatever time of the day you're watching this, I keep saying good morning because when I record them, it's in the morning. I was reading something this week that really I just found it fascinating. When Dr. Seuss's first book of any recognition, anyhow, I think it was his first book, but it wasn't his first children's book. He was a children's author whenever he got this bet. But anyhow, a friend bet him. He hadn't become Dr. Seuss yet. He was writing under his regular name. And a friend bet him. He said, I bet you, and I forget what the size of the bet was or what the deal was. Well, it was only a $50 bet. He said, I bet you cannot write a book, a children's book, with less than 50 words, no more than 50 words. And he took the bet, and he wrote Green Eggs and Ham, sold over 200,000 copies. And I began to think about it, and I thought about, that's an amazing thing to have that kind of constraint put on you and to do such a successful job of writing a book, to have such a great success when you're under such constraints. And then I began to think about something else. I began to think about how all the time we make excuses about why we can't serve God or why we can't be what God wants us to be because of the constraints that are in our lives. It may be a physical constraint, it may be a social constraint, it may be an educational constraint. I've heard all sorts of excuses from all sorts of people about why they can't be what God wants them to do, why they can't be used of God, why they can't serve God, why they can't do anything in the church, why they can't this or that. People are great at coming up with excuses, and almost always it's about, I've got this constraint in my life. And yet, when you look at it, some of the most amazing people, some of the most incredible servants of God have been people that had incredible constraints on their lives. One of the greatest youth speakers in the country has no arms or legs. And yet, he's become this amazing dynamo of a youth speaker as he travels around the country. And there are so many other situations. Joni Eareckson spent her life in a wheelchair and yet touched literally millions of people with her testimony and with the power of the work that she was able to do. And the list just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. One of the great examples was Paul. Paul, you'd say, well, Paul had great education and all kinds. Well, yeah, but listen to what he says in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, starts at verse 7. He says, lest I should be exalted above measure by the abundance of the revelations, a thorn in the flesh was given to me. He says, God actually allowed me to have or gave me this thorn in the flesh. He doesn't tell us what the thorn in the flesh was. But he says, the thorn in the flesh was given to me, a messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. Concerning this, I pleaded with the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. 3 times I said, God, take it away. And he, God, said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Did you get that? My strength is made perfect when you have to work under constraints. Therefore, most gladly will I rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. And he goes on to say, I celebrate my infirmity. I celebrate this thorn in the flesh. I celebrate the constraint that's been put on me. What constraint are you dealing with? We all have them. I'm starting to have more than I want to have, but when I was in school, I struggled with English. When I was in high school, I struggled with English classes. I loved literature, but struggled with English. When I was in college, I studied with just an overbusy schedule because I was working full time and I was going to school full time and working in the church and doing other things, and so I struggled with this overbusy schedule. Now, in this stage of my life, I'm starting to struggle with a knee that's not working very good and an ankle that's not working very good. And we all have constraints. We can either sit back and say, these are my problems, these are the things that are keeping me from doing what God wants me to do, Or we can say, I will be what God wants me to be, and I will do what God wants me to do, and I will be used of Him to glorify His name in some way, because it's through His power, not through my limitations. What constraints are you using as an excuse today to not serve God, to not have a relationship with God? Whatever it is, it's lame. I'm going to tell you, that may sound cruel, but it's lame. Something to think about today. I hope you have a wonderful day. As I look outside here today, snow flurries are coming down here in Petersburg, but spring's coming. It's going to get nice. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope God just fills your day full of blessing, and I hope that you look past the constraints that are in your life and say, God, I'm gonna celebrate those, because it's in my weakness I can feel your strength. Have a great day. God bless.